It sounds like something big is about to happen at CNN, which may have an effect on the entire media industry. And that is the potential of top anchors getting their salaries slashed. Now, I'm going to go over in this video, just the amount of money these people make, which is kind of insane for what they do, but also an example that showcases these top anchors really aren't all that important to the networks as some of these networks may think they are. And I'll get to, an alternative that one anchor is doing now that he's left cable news. But this all starts with this piece here. So this in the wrap, they or Emily Smith, I should say, wrote the story on the 15th. CNN looks to slash budgets and star salaries as Mark Thompson digs in. So this is Mark Thompson here. He is the new CNN boss. And he was apparently stunned at the amount of money that anchors at CNN are making. So he comes from the world of BBC. He's the former head of BBC. And I assume anchors at CBC are not making anywhere near the kind of the kind of money that anchors at CNN are making. So the anchor salaries, currently more than 50 million, is in his sights. So some of the top earners there. Anderson Cooper, who makes an estimated 20 million a year. Let me just I got already stop. Anderson Cooper, who is I have video. Okay. Let's put aside how good he is as a television journalist, I suppose, or whatever you want to call them, an anchor. Anderson Cooper does not offer anything unique that anyone else in his place couldn't offer. If I turn on, I shouldn't say turn on because I don't watch CNN on TV, but if I see a CNN clip and to me, it doesn't really even matter half the time who is hosting. It's what the guest is saying, what the person they have on has to say, or what information that they may be delivering. Anderson Cooper is not any kind of unique talent or unique personality, or in the sense that he doesn't bring any real life experience that offers an opinion that someone else couldn't. Yes, I know he worked for a while in the field and he has some of that experience, sure. But I watched a clip yesterday of Anderson Cooper cutting off Nina Turner as she's trying to discuss the crisis in Gaza, talking about, oh no, let's forget that. Let's talk about more about the politics of it, how it affects the horse race. Like, so there are 1,000 examples of that where, I guess he's doing his job at CNN, but in my opinion, that isn't the job that he should be doing there. If he were great at his job, he'd be wanting to go deeper into the actual situation in Gaza and ensure he's getting the truth out there. But that's not the focus. Wolf Blitzer, 15 million. Jake Tapper, 8.5 million. Chris Wallace, who I didn't even know was still on the network till I read this piece. He makes 8 million. Chris Wallace had a failed CNN online show. I don't know why CNN thought launching their online platform with Chris Wallace was going to be a way to win people over. People that are going to download, I don't know, an app onto their phone probably don't care about Chris Wallace generally. So it was such a weird idea, it shows you how disconnected these corporate types are from the rest of society, thinking that Chris Wallace was going to be the big selling feature of their new CNN app. But that show failed, so I guess they put him on some weekend show now on CNN, but he makes 8 million. And then other anchors make around 1 to 2 million. So, this is a big chunk of money here that they want to cut. Now, other examples. So this piece from The Ankler from Claire Atkinson. Rachel Maddow makes around 30 million. And that's since her new contract. So Maddow now only, I believe, has like one show a week on the network. Isn't even working every day. Makes 30 million. Sean Hannity at Fox News, 25 million. George Stephanopoulos at ABC, as well as Robin Roberts. CBS's Gayle King and NBC Savannah Guthrie, they take home between 10 to 18 million. So again, if you showed me a picture of Robin Roberts, actually, Robin, I think I know who Robin Roberts is. Savannah Guthrie, I'm not sure if I would. Maybe if I saw a lineup, I could pick her out. But in my mind, I cannot picture who Savannah Guthrie is. And George Stephanopoulos, I only know because he's been on TV forever and been in politics forever. But again, all of them here, completely replaceable. Rachel Maddow, maybe a bit different. She does offer sort of a unique take in the way she presents information that people seem to enjoy. I think it's fine. Again, I'm going to show you an example of a massive, massive anchor who was replaced, and there really hasn't been all that much difference in the ratings. First here, just a bit more on this. So Mediaite writing, the rapid pace of consumers jumping to streaming and other cheaper alternatives is a real crisis for the industry. Last year, the proportion of U.S. households paying for traditional TV subscriptions dropped below 50% for the first time. So this has continued to be, a trend of people just no longer watching cable news. And if they do watch it, maybe they're watching it on YouTube or they're going to the actual websites and watching the clips. But in terms of paying for subscriptions, that is dropping. And people, especially, people under 50, I would say, a lot of them have simply moved online. And not online to CNN or Fox News online, but online to people on YouTube, to TikTok, to Instagram, getting their news from a variety of sources, from a variety of people, as well as of course, reading various outlets and not just television. But there continues to be a drop-off from these cable news outlets. And again, showcasing that the so-called personalities at these places aren't really all that important. Especially a big factor in this is that they can't really be themselves on TV. That is why, Twitch streamers or YouTubers can be so popular, is because they have real personalities. People can relate to them. They can tell they're real people. That have real opinions. Whereas Anderson Cooper or like Wolf Blitzer. His job is to be a robot. I don't support people being replaced by AI, but if you could replace an anchor with AI, Wolf Blitzer would probably be the first one. So there's to pay someone like that tens of millions of dollars, to me, is completely insane when anybody could take their job. I used to work in broadcast news. People like Wolf Blitzer are a dime a dozen. I don't understand how he's been at that network for so long, making so much money. Again, he's not like he's terrible, but he's just cookie cutter. There's nothing unique about him. The reason why you pay big money for talent is because you can't get that talent anywhere else. A Wolf Blitzer, you can get 1 million of them. So it is insane to pay these anchors that kind of money when they can't even really be the personalities that you would want them to be if you understood their value. Now, this also from Mediaite, an industry insider told Mediaite that tensions are percolating between the rank and file and major stars. Quote, they're starting to look at each other. It's like Survivor. A relatively small pay cut for the highest paid talent could save dozens of jobs and make the product better. Just think of how many jobs you could save by cutting Anderson Cooper's pay from 20 million to, say, I don't know, 2 million a year. He's still a millionaire, still making more than really he needs to. That 18 million saved. The amount of jobs, broadcast jobs, investigative journalist jobs, people that, work in the cameras, do the editing, work in the control room. The amount of jobs you save, people making between, 70 to 100K a year on average, like the amount of jobs you could keep by cutting these people's pays is significant. I mean, you could save entire shows by cutting these salaries. So it again seems like a no-brainer. That said, it's also worth putting in context just the amount, the billions of dollars these corporations bring in. And this ultimately is largely about shareholders. This isn't about really anything else. This isn't about, trying to create a more, trying to bring a meritocracy of some sense into these newsrooms. No, it's simply about the bottom line and trying to squeeze every place imaginable without having to hurt, the stock in any way. So it's capitalism. Now, this is one example of a salary that's been slashed, and the only one maybe there's more, but they haven't been reported on, or there's secret. But the one that has been reported on, this is back in 2022. Nora O'Donnell paused to try and think about who that is. I'll show you in a second. Nora O'Donnell's salary was slashed by more than a half at CBS Evening News. Again, I'm sure, I guarantee less than half of you can picture who Nora O'Donnell is. Here she is here. No, it's Kevin O'Leary. This is Nora O'Donnell. Seeing the picture, I recognize her, but I would not have, the image doesn't come to my head when I think of it. And because these networks, these anchors on these evening news shows are not the same as they used to be when it was, Walter Cronkite, for example. I know he's the obvious one always brought up, but that was during a time when everybody all watched the same news, all got their information from the same place or the same, few networks. It is much different now. So these people are just simply not worth the amount of money that they maybe once were when the market wasn't so wide. Now, here's an example of somebody who was a big anchor at a massive network, taken off air without all that much change in the ratings. So Tucker Carlson, of course, was pushed out of Fox News and replaced by Jesse Waters. So Jesse Waters at the beginning had a bit of trouble for the first month I should say the first month, I don't believe Jesse Waters was even in. They were kind of doing like a rotating replacement of guest host. And then Jesse Waters at some point was brought in. And, once he got going, this is August, I believe, a few months after he took over, Jesse Waters was averaging 2.4 million viewers. And Carlson, when he left, was 3.3. It's less than a million difference. And yes, there is a difference there, but less than a million. And Jesse Waters has only increased his viewership. So he now gets 2.83 million on averages from January. And then this is from February. Fox News put this out a couple days ago. Jesse Waters, 2.8 again. So he's consistently sitting at around 2.8. Again, yes, there's a difference here, but considering Tucker Carlson was the draw for Fox News prime time, the biggest ratings draw, from 3.3 million to 2.8 really isn't that much of a dip. And I imagine Jesse Waters isn't making nearly as much as Carlson was. At least he, shouldn't be. Then again, Carlson shouldn't have been making what he was making either. So they're all not worth it. But you really could have put almost anybody from Fox in that spot, and at some point they would have grown that audience and become familiar with the viewership that it would have rebounded regardless of who it was. Again, my opinion, as long as they're filling the same sort of void of bloviated propaganda that Carlson offered. Now, as media writes here, some personalities are more expendable than others. The key difference will be between the irreplaceable hosts and the rest, who are the vast majority. So yeah, I do think the vast majority are completely replaceable. Though the ones they write here as irreplaceable, Hannity, again, I kind of put him there with Tucker, where he may appear irreplaceable. You replace him, I'm sure the network's fine. We're talking especially Fox. So I should be clear. Whether it's CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, the average age of viewership in prime time for all these networks is between 65 and like 80. So it's a shrinking audience. And at some point, you replace Hannity, where's the audience going to go? Is all of a sudden your 85-year-old conservative grandfather going to start checking out, I don't know, Ben Shapiro or something? Like, is he really going to go online? Unlikely. He'll probably just watch whoever replaces Hannity. So again, going to how replaceable a lot of these people really are. Lawrence O'Donnell, I'm not sure I'd put him in the irreplaceable spot. I will say, though, one person who I do think is irreplaceable is Mehdi Hassan, who had his show canceled on MSNBC, was offered a contributor role to stay on the network, declined that to go and start his new venture, Zateo. So I'll play his video in a second here, but this is the other avenue that if you have a solid talent like a Mehdi Hassan who leaves cable news, someone like this has the ability to build their own thing, build their own audience. And, at first year, I'm sure he's not going to make anywhere near the kind of money he was making at MSNBC, but he's investing in this idea that this is his own platform. He'll get to say whatever the hell he wants because it's his platform. There's no guardrails. And that's going to, hopefully lead to more accurate, opinion reporting. But let me play for you his launch video here.
What? You thought I was gone? Oh no, you can't get rid of me that easily. I'm back with a whole new media company, in fact, my own. We're calling it Zateo, the ancient Greek word that goes back to Socrates and Plato, which means to seek out, to inquire, to get to the truth. And that is the guiding principle behind my new media venture. Zateo will bring you hard-hitting interviews and unsparing analysis that you won't find elsewhere. Shows, podcasts, op-eds, newsletters. We have it all. And it's not just me. I've been busy a la Nick Fury assembling an Avengers-style team of contributors, the kind of big names from media, activism, and Hollywood that will blow your mind. Now, you know I've never been afraid to ask the tough questions, and I plan to continue doing that, including right now. Will you join me and help build Zateo from the ground up by becoming a subscriber, a paid subscriber? Sign up below and let's change the news together. Because it's time for a new media organization that isn't afraid.
Implying that once he's worked for, we're afraid. But this is where a lot of, again, people that are talented can go in terms of starting their own or maybe joining someone else like this. I do wish there was more of an investment here potentially into investigative journalism. That's sort of what has been lacking. That's also, that requires a lot of money, a real investment. And that's the area that I think a place like a CNN or an MSNBC, that is where their investment should be, is into investigative reporting. They have not just the money, but also the resources, the ability to be able to properly invest into something that people really need. Yet oftentimes when it comes to cuts, investigative journalism is the first to go. And unfortunately, in many cases, it doesn't bring the kind of eyeballs that, commentary does. But it's an important pillar to not just media, but to society. Now, this is ultimately where things are going to go. So it's hard to know what's going to happen with CNN, how many anchors are going to stay if their salaries get cut. But because CNN is the first to, at least publicly, potentially start doing this, there's going to be very little choice for these anchors. Wolf Blitzer, let's say his salary's slashed in half. Is he going to protest by going to does MSNBC want to pay Wolf Blitzer what he was making at CNN? Probably not. This is going to very likely be a industry-wide initiative here where the talent is simply stuck. There's nowhere to go. And they're just stuck getting their salary slashed because finally these networks have realized that they could maybe put that money somewhere else and keep some other jobs that are important to the network in response to cutting, some of these salaries. But it'll be something worth watching to see just how cable news continues to stay afloat with cuts like this.